guys. There you go.
Thank you very much.
What's up, bro?
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.
Listen, I know you guys said you needed it fast.
Yeah.
This was as fast as we could get it
I
here.
appreciate that.
Sometimes the biggest insult a manufacturer can hand you turns into the best decision you'll ever make. And that's exactly what just happened to FX Alex G. A helicopter dropped out of the sky over Mat Armstrong's workshop this week. Not a van, not a courier on a bike, a helicopter, hovering down with cargo that's about to change everything. And while it descended, Alex did the only thing Alex would ever do in that moment. He pulled up in his BMW and started spinning donuts around it as it landed. A body kit worth a small fortune, arriving like a movie scene, while a grown man treats it like a fireworks show. That single clip tells you everything you need to know about where his head is right now. Because Mat Armstrong just confirmed he's building the world's first widebody Bugatti She-ron. And depending on who you ask, that sentence either describes the most insane automotive build of the decade or the destruction of one of the rarest hypercars on the planet. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why this happened, who really made the call, and why Bugatti only has itself to blame. Let's rewind, because none of this makes sense without the context. Alex bought this She-ron Pur Sport, one of only 60 ever made. It crashed on April 13th. He paid a serious buyback price just to get the wreck back into his own hands, and that was only the beginning of the nightmare. What followed wasn't a quick fix. It was over a year of Matt and Bob going to war with Bugatti for parts that should have taken weeks, not months. Audi A3 airbags, components flatly refused. Mate Rimac going public, telling the entire world this rebuild couldn't be done. The She-ron split clean in half on the bench. Radiators that kept failing pressure tests more than once, with no end in sight and no help coming from the manufacturer that built it. And then, against every single prediction, the impossible happened. The car came back to life, Matt drove it, Alex drove it. Everything worked exactly the way it should. But here's the part nobody's talking about. Somewhere in that 12-month nightmare, something inside Alex shifted permanently. Because surviving Bugatti's gatekeeping isn't the same as forgiving it. Think about what he actually went through. A manufacturer refusing to support its own car. A rival CEO making content about a vehicle he doesn't even own. 18 months of fighting just to get a 6-figure hypercar back on the road the way it was originally built to run. That's not the kind of experience that builds brand loyalty. That's the kind of experience that kills it completely, permanently without warning. So Alex made a decision. If Bugatti won't protect this car's authenticity, why should he? Now here's where it gets genuinely interesting. The company behind that helicopter delivery is called Venenum. And I'll be straight with you. Before this week, I had never heard the name once in my life. But dig a little deeper, and these aren't amateurs throwing fiberglass at a hypercar and hoping for the best. Venenum has built wide-body Rolls-Royce Phantoms for serious collectors. They've reshaped Lamborghini Urus models for clients who don't blink at the price tag. Real carbon fiber, show-level fitment, luxury finishing that doesn't cut corners. This is a company operating in a completely different tier from your average body kit shop, in a back alley somewhere. And when their early renders for the She-ron leaked online, I finally understood why Alex said yes without hesitation. The proportions are nothing like the factory car. Wider arches that completely change the silhouette. A stance that looks like it's about to attack the road in front of it. A presence Bugatti's own design team would never sign off on in 1,000 years. Whether it actually translates onto a real She-ron remains an open question. But based on what we've seen so far, Venenum clearly knows how to transform a car without turning it into a parody of itself. But here's the twist that absolutely nobody saw coming. It wasn't Mat Armstrong who made this connection happen. It wasn't Alex's own management team either. It was Jake Paul, yes, that Jake Paul. The boxer who somehow seems to be one phone call away from everyone in motorsport and entertainment at the exact same time. According to what's been reported, Jake personally reached out to Venenum's CEO directly. He'd watched Alex go through absolute hell rebuilding this car for over a year. He knew the She-ron was finally road legal again after everything. And he knew Alex wanted to do something the factory would never ever approve of. So he picked up the phone and made the call himself. One phone call. One single week later, a helicopter is landing in Mat Armstrong's yard with a full wide-body kit strapped on board, while Alex drifts circles around it for the cameras like it's nothing. Either Venenum just pulled off one of the fastest custom builds in automotive history, or they already had She-ron concepts sitting in a back room somewhere, just waiting for an owner crazy enough to finally say yes. Either way, what just happened doesn't happen by accident, and it doesn't happen without serious connections. Now let's talk about the part everyone keeps avoiding. The money, because there's always money involved. A She-ron Pur Sport isn't just expensive. It's one of 60 examples that exist anywhere on the entire planet. Factory originality is the single biggest thing protecting that astronomical value. The second you cut into the bodywork, you're not just spending money you'll never recover. You're actively shrinking the pool of buyers who will ever want this exact car. Modifications are deeply personal. What looks incredible to Alex and Matt might look like an absolute disaster to the next person holding a checkbook. And the buyer chasing an untouched Pur Sport was never going to want a wide-body conversion in the first place, no matter how well it's executed. So now this car appeals to a completely different, much smaller audience than before. That's the trade Alex is knowingly making, and he knows exactly what it costs him. But here's why I still respect this decision. Alex never bought this car as a spreadsheet asset, sitting in a climate-controlled garage. He bought it to drive, to feel, to genuinely experience one of the most extreme pieces of engineering humanity has ever produced. And Bugatti turned that experience into a relentless fight instead. Mate Rimac made it personal publicly, repeatedly. The rebuild dragged on so long that simply owning the car stopped being fun and started being a battle just for survival. So if Bugatti was never going to let him enjoy this thing on their terms, why on earth would he keep building it on their terms either? This isn't going to be fast and nobody should expect it to be. A wide-body conversion on a car capable of clearing 260 miles per hour isn't something you rush through a weekend project. Every single panel has to align with surgical precision. The wider arches need wheels that won't rub, won't bind, won't compromise the geometry. The aerodynamics on a car this fast aren't optional extras tacked on for looks. They're the difference between stability and total disaster at top speed. This will likely take years, not months, and anyone expecting a quick reveal video is going to be disappointed. Mat Armstrong's entire reputation is now riding on getting every single detail right, because the whole world is already watching his every move. And that pressure isn't going away anytime soon.